You gonna sing? You gonna sing?
Go Dada.
Wow. Go Dada. All right. Here. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the weekly screen share. Check 1 2 1 2. Weird. I feel like I only hear it in one side. Check 1 2 1 2. Huh. I guess I lost this side for some reason. I don't know why. There we go. Okay, I got it. Check, 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 check. Ooh. All right. My kid just barged right in, so they're in. There's nothing I can do about it. Funny. All right, let's talk about Bitcoin. Let's go over kind of a plan, right? I mean, there's got to be a plan. What the heck just happened? One of the craziest dumps in history of any asset, right? It's like, but leave it to Bitcoin. The thing is, if Bitcoin can pump so hard, it can dump so hard. And it's almost like that's its gift and its curse. You know, as Michael Saylor says, volatility is the gift to the holder, right? Because you're able to buy it low and hold it for long periods of time. And because of the volatility, there's opportunity. Without that volatility, would be no opportunity. So the first thing I look at here is that's the lowest I've ever seen the fear and greed in my life. I've never seen 6. So this is a first for me. So me and you are going through something. I've never seen 6 in my life. 9, yes, never 6. So this is measuring an amount of fear that I've never seen. And it makes sense. The FTX, like, we've dumped more than any collapse I've ever seen in my life. Everyone thinks 60K is the bottom. You know, you never know. It's better off to tell yourself anything. See, 99% of people, 95 are going to say, hey, we think this has to be, it's doing this because of that. It's doing that because of this. And I'm telling you, man, Mark Douglas, you go to the OGs and you study. It's almost like, this is almost like Kung Fu, right? You study underneath the sensei. And the sensei kind of tells you, right? Let me jump into the chat too here, because that's like the point of this. I want to say, hey, this has just been, for me, for everyone, like, we're all been through, like, this has been insane. I look at my life as a journey, so I almost get it's strange. I almost get as excited as the dump, as the pump, because to me, it's all the action, right, at the end of the day. And if we're going to be here for the long run, no matter what, then it is what it is. But shout out to everybody here. I know it's a little early for some people and just a different time, but God bless. And we're hovering around 69. Bookmap suggesting we do go lower. It's got more liquidity down to 6, back down there, and even it could take us to 47,000. So, like, it could be the start of an even bigger dump that really, you know, so just got to, you know, from what I see, I just got to be honest, right? And it's just the same. We just got to keep taking the same idea every time. And remember, what I did is we did great this week, shorting and longing. And then I just take, you know what I mean? And then I take a little bit of what I had already and go at the bottom again. And if it doesn't happen, then we just keep, you know what I mean? We keep shorting. It's just a smart way to attack the market and not have to get caught up in the nonsense, you know? But yeah, and Bitcoin doesn't move, nothing moves. So it's hard to speculate on altcoins because you need Bitcoin to be stable, you know, for me. That's how I look at it. Unless, you know, there's always going to be a few jumping around. But that's, you know, I want like somewhat more probable gains. I'm not, you know, it's all high risk, but there's times to trade altcoins where, to me, they just seem more probable, you know. And then there's times where it just doesn't happen. And I know that now. I've been doing it for so long. So that's why, like, as much as I love an altcoin and I'm going to be the first to deep dive, and like I looked at some setups yesterday that looked interesting to me. Seeker even just kind of did nothing, right? We didn't get, because Bitcoin needs to move. If Bitcoin held and pumped out this little flag like it did, we would have had a bigger move. But last night you can see we just almost kind of head and shoulders slowly made a bear div, and then boom, stop hunt on the flag, right? For me, it was about the 200 moving average. Oh, that's the 12. But yeah, of the 15-minute here, we're holding it. But we did get a bounce, so to me, still okay. But anyway, and I'm gonna look at the bigger picture and whittle our way down. What do you think about that H and on the weekly could be measured to 20? Yeah, no, for sure. I'm with you on that too. Yeah, to me, that is, you could say head and shoulder. But I'm getting I get like 51,000 though. I don't know what. And I do I guess that we could do really extreme, I guess, yeah, wick to wick there. But I still get like 44K. If I extend it a little bit, a little less. Yeah, I don't see, again, 31,000 here. There's some, you know what I mean? You just got to be serious with yourself, right? When you see an asset do what it does, it's just, and then the same thing is like, that was a huge, if you pull the fib on the entire move, the 786 looms at 38,000. That's where we've always bounced every time we've made a massive high. And again, I'm not saying that's going to happen for sure, but everyone's going to tell you, no, there's a super cycle coming. This is close to, we're at least 10% from the bottom. This is what you're hearing. I was right all along. I'm going to be right at 55. Look at what I said. Look, you know what I mean? People are going to say all this stuff. I've read a lot of on Twitter recently. I've been sitting with my leg up. So you get this is all here. You know what I mean? And you have to take it into account. But what I've done in my life is just look at, like, if I was alone in the charts and you would have been like, okay, rising wedge, right? Break down 68% of the time to where they began. Like, that happened. And could you almost say, this is what I've been this is the only thing that kind of freaks me out. It's like, wow, is this a giant rising wedge? They break down to where they began. Like, could you go to 18K? It's like crazy to think, but you never know. And the crazy thing is everything I've learned in my life now is, Bitcoin has taught me this, because there's times where I remember being in Bitcoin and was ripping, and I was like, it'll never go below 15,000 ever again. Like, you know what I mean? And like, you believe it with everything that you know. You're sitting pretty. Everyone's like, oh, it's going to 100K. It's 20,000. Then you think it's going to be, and right then, actually, this is back here. Right here, when it hits 20,000, you think, okay, it's like, well, it's going to hit 100K now by like 2020. Like, you know what I mean? It's just going to never stop. This is just, And then like the reality hits in, and 2019, the 2020, and then we have like the absolute, like, basically collapse of the market. Remember, that was just insane. And then everything just collapsed, and then we bounced back like a fiend, and then ripping. And then you think, okay, we'll never go below, 50K ever again. Like, never. Like, and then you're, what? 31? And then, okay, yeah, never below. And then you're back down here at 15. You know what I mean? So Bitcoin has just made me think it's going to so many times, and then shows me the truth. And it just, like, I got to after all this now, I'm ready for anything, and I believe anything is possible, right? I don't want to see an $18,000 Bitcoin or 20,000, and I'd say it's unlikely, but at the same time, like, who knows, man? We never know what's going on in this world. Was it awesome and the trillionaires get a handle of it and they're going to, like, somehow, like, inadvertently short it on us or something because it was the truth and they just can't allow that? You never know. Like, and does that all come out later on? You never know. Or does Bitcoin just rise no matter what? Is the code strong enough to get through the manipulation? It's just being manipulated right now, and it's just going to, you got to see the fight. So there's a lot of, and again, at that point, you're speculating too, right? So we don't know. But it's good to be open-minded. And I've always thought too, I love Bitcoin, But in the back of my mind, I've always thought too, just so everyone knows, like it's a coded asset, right? That basically, not saying I don't think there's a back door. I think that's a lie. You know, I think there's a lot of FUD too. Let's just kind of discuss the FUD, right? There's a lot of Epstein FUD, and you know, I've done my research. I've spent hours on it. I've had the time. And again, who knows? I'm not saying I know everything. And but yeah, he was interested in it. Thought he could maybe somehow take control of it or do something with it. And some coders took some grant money from him at one point. But he got he got into other things. He never truly stayed on it and followed up much. They went their separate ways over time. But you could say, okay, he helped fund parts of it at the very beginning, which is, you could be like, it's kind of shady. You know what I mean? But at this, it's like what someone said to me, like, we discovered fire, and I guess fire is a little almost pretentious to say, but we discovered fire. What if an evil person helped create fire? But like, it's fire, and just a lot of other things that Bitcoin is transmutable money around the world. Could basically unbank the unbanked. People that the banking system has forgot about. All those people need is a wallet and a phone, and they can be paid, and they can buy and sell, and they can be part of any, instead of just sitting out there in the field. You know what I mean? It revolutionizes money around the world. To me, it's a beautiful invention, and I think there's a reason why it gets subdued. There's a reason why it gets flooded like this, and it's an opportunity, And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm, again, it's a harsh game to play, Bitcoin, right? It doesn't reward you immediately, and it takes a long time to feel the rewards of Bitcoin. Believe you me, I've been through it. So some people are saying that has to have been the bottom. That was it. I'll tell you what, the 200 moving average on the weekly is a pretty deep area to have come to. And, you can say this is a spot on the low was 60,000 even on spot Binance USDT. That's like my favorite exchange, just to kind of, that's how I started on Binance. It was there for 5 years till we couldn't do it anymore, so. And look, there's this trend line too. Like you got to get back above that trend line, and then there's this trend line, which to me you basically, touched pretty nicely there. So it has a trend, just like every asset in the world. It has, and it'll take its time. And was there 2 capitulations, one on each of the bottom during the last cycle big crash? Been hearing that there's always 2 big dips. Yeah, see, you hear all this stuff. That's the thing. And none of it would matter if you just were alone inside of your room and didn't talk to anyone but just the charts, right? The charts made the right shoulder, lower high, you're going to make a lower low. And remember, everyone's always like, and I'm getting, what I figured out in the last 2 years that I didn't always realize is where to find the actual top. Like, I was always like, where's the top, where's the bottom, how do you know? And it's just tweezer bottoms and tweezer tops. Like, I've never been so free. Like, I don't know if you know, recently, like the biggest trade we made was just buying right here, right? Putting a stop right there. That's it. I gave it to the group, like, and I'm not bashful to be able to show you guys that my strategies are like that, are like snap finger easy. Or I don't want to say easy. Actually, that's my dad said never use the word easy, right? But snap finger simple, okay? Simple is not easy, actually. They're 2 different things. People think they are, but simple is genius, And you can even see kind of hidden in the code here, a bit of a shoulder, head, right shoulder, right? It's looking like it could try to get a move on here. So, yeah, I mean, there's some market structure here for Bitcoin. And we're going to take it from the bottom to the top. But then it's getting a little pump right now, too, right? On the morning. Back up to 69, attempting, or back up to 70K there. Buenos dias. Buenos dias. Bon dia. One love for you, awesome Sam. Thanks for everything. God bless you, man. Yeah, shout out to FUD Expert. Shout out to everybody out here. Reliable J. God bless you, Reliable J, man. Thank you. I can't believe what you had, the operation you had. That's crazy, man. You put my life, you put my mind in perspective. Shout out to Christian. Shout out to Leo Mo. Badri, my man. Craig, Crypto Plumber, Erwick, My Travel Guide, DeFi, Tave, man, from back in the day too. Crypto Flow, 310. But God bless everyone here. And if I missed you, no offense, I just, my eyes after staring at the screens. So let's back up and just see how much hope we have for a reversal. But again, I've just been trading what I call, simple. Boom. And you could sell here, 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 whatever. You could still be in it. It depends. But, like, no matter what, there's money right here, right? And what I've been trying to tell myself, too, is, like, I get this. There's, like, two leverage traders, I think, in us all. And you're like, what are you talking about? But, like, I think we all have two leverage. I have the leverage trader in me that just, loves to make gains. And just day by day. But then there's the guy that wants to be the hero. And like, I called the bottom. Like, I think there's always this little ego that wants to call the bottom or, or hold the biggest trade, even if no one knew, but just for yourself too. Like, I made the biggest one, And I get like that sometimes. And I think what I have to do is like separate the two trades because like I could still be in this trade and there's a chance I call the absolute bottom, right? There's a chance like this entry here could be like one of the biggest lev trades that like could buy me a home or something, right? If I hit it right. But then it's also like that dream state. And then you put so much in it that if it doesn't go right, like you can take out more of the portfolio than you want, right? And that's kind of the balance between wanting to be a hero and just taking gains. For me, I've just been repeating to myself that like, if I can get in here and get out anywhere in here, and then if I can get back in where I feel fit for another possible rally, like, I can solidify a gain, you know what I mean? It just depends on execution and sticking to it. Like, okay, this is going to be a long-term trade, and that's why it's good to have, for me, two accounts. Like, I'll pick one, my MEXC, and say, okay, the MEXC is going to be my long-term. I'm going to get in, and and this might go up 2,000, might come down, up and down. Like, you might be up right here, you might be up 1,000, and then you might be only up 100, and then you might be up 1,000, and then you know what I mean? And you got to either commit. So if you're going to, when I commit to a bigger trade, you got to just like almost not look at it. But then there's times too where I've seen a fake rally where I'm like up and I take the money out the bigger trade. And then it was a good idea. It ends up not implode. It could implode. Right. So there's also a balance to it. What I found is never beat myself up when I just take the gain, because at the end of the day, the purse can't go back down if I keep taking the gain. Right. And just not beating yourself up if you sell here, but it keeps pumping throughout the day. So what? You just stay on gratitude. Like, if you can, this is the beginner gets in here, sells here, and for the rest of the day complains about how he didn't get the pop, how he missed more. Oh, I could have got so much more. And the OG just realizes that was a great day and that you don't always get it all, but at least you get something. And you have gratitude for what you did get, right? And the point is, what I've learned about every situation is every time we live in life, we hit a decision, right? It's funny, but we come into life and we hit a Y. Like, we can go either way, down, like just like this in trading. You could think about, oh, I missed it, or you can be super happy with what you had, and that's kind of life. This right here is the dynamic of life. So you come to this crossroads where you can always think about what could have been, or be super grateful for what you did have, right? And what happens is this is like a neuron in the brain, I believe. And the more you choose the left side, or right, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be left or right. But the more you go down this angle where you say, wow, thank you for what I did have. I got in and I got out. I know it kept going, but that's okay. I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for what I do have, right? It becomes like a habit to do this. And this becomes the road more traveled in the brain. And that's neuroplasticity. That is how you change your thought. And then you can start applying that to everything in life. And to all the other doubts people have had. And that's how trading has helped me in so many ways. It's freed me from so many other things that I do and allowed me to progress in so many other things that I do, because I don't have these like negative thoughts or pullbacks. I just say, wow, I'm grateful that I got that far. Tomorrow we'll do better. I have ideas that I want to do for the company. I'm setting up like AI workflow and all this other stuff. And some days I miss my mark. I didn't get as much set up as I'd like. I didn't hit it, But I say, hey, I did get this and this done, and I'm on my way towards this, and at least we're working, and it's fun, right? Because I can set up a trade, and then there's always things to work on, and there's always something to do, and that's what I love about having a channel. Like I can take it anywhere I want. I can begin to make different types of content, and that's what I've been doing. If you see set back here, I got my new setup. I got more than one camera now. I got another Sony camera. I got teleprompters. I got everything I need. I got lighting. And, yeah, I'm going to start making even different content, too. I think, interesting content about what happened, about what's going on. And we're going to have fun this year, and possibly more TV appearances, too, coming. So it's, yeah, all this came out of nowhere, You just meet the right people at the right time. God sends people into your life. And what's weird is I listen to those, like, positive affirmation videos at night by, like, Carl Jung, Neil Goddard. You're stepping into the most abundant part of your life. The universe is opening for you, God has been waiting to tell you, to teach you, like, this is your time. And it always is your time, if you believe it is. It was always your time whenever you wanted it to be. That's what you realize about life. It's almost scary and uplifting, because you realize the whole time you've been in control. Once it hits you and you're like, wow. Because for me, I was living a life, and then you're like, damn, why was I living a life that I didn't love if I was always in control? And then you wonder, damn, that's kind of creepy. What was going on with me? How long was I going to do that for? And you're like, no, it wasn't me. It was just because, this is the town I grew up in, and these are the jobs that they had. And so I took the job that my uncle gave me, and, it's okay. Like, this is fine, Whatever we tell ourselves in our minds, But then you read a book about someone that just decided to go their own way and do something just completely different than they ever thought they could. And for me, that inspired me to say, But anyway, so this is the trade, and this could still, take us all the way to, there's a chance, and could take us all the way up to there. Could just, the smart move too, would just go through this gap in the VRVP, 79K. But yeah, there's a chance that this thing really does at least continue a little bit. It's got the cup and handle. It's going okay. And yeah. So for me, as I sold into these green candles, and I just threw a little bit of what I got back in there, like, basically like 900 for $3,000, something like that. You know what I mean? And see if this thing can rip, and you get another $3,000. And so that's kind of what I'm looking at, and we'll see if it can continue. The creepy thing is it going to do one of these again, right? So this is kind of like the story. It's just over and over again. It has to kind of break through these. Otherwise, it makes another descending triangle and it continues lower. And that takes it to 47, and then people get then they start telling you it's over. The experiment's done. Peter Schiff starts telling you, I told you to sell it. It had no value. And then it really sets in. People start saying a lot of insane things. And then a lot of people start believing it. They could sell it even more. You understand? This creates this frenzy of people that just go insane. Yeah. And then you're hearing, a lot of people are convinced that 60K was the bottom. I bought enough at 60K to be okay with it if it was the bottom. You know what I mean? I took advantage. I can always say, hey, I bought 62, 63. I bought 65. I bought as much as I could down there. 62. I think I might have got some at 61. I didn't get any at 60,000 or anything. Maybe like 61.8, 62.5, 63.8. But I got Bitcoin. I bought Bitcoin in the lows. And we'll see. So to me, it's got to break this trend line. I got to see it above 71.8 pretty soon. I'd like it in the next 16 to 24 hours, really, preferably. Otherwise, it's, or it can go sideways, but it's got to break through this trend. And if it starts to kind of curl down here, it's telling me that we're going lower. So in the next 8 to 10 hours, we're going to know what Bitcoin wants to do based off this exact model. And this is what got us, I don't know if you remember, but it was just simple trading. I would see it try to make an inverted head and shoulder. It was just look simple to me. I'd be like, oh, yeah, there's the inverted head and shoulder. And then I was like, but if it can't do it, it's going to make a descending triangle. And it kind of just kept doing this. And then I don't know, just kept doing the same kind of stuff over and over again. And then there was a bunch of this in here on the smaller time frames. And so every time I saw one, I would just get in with a stop loss above the curved area, and then just kept going. And that was the trade I gave you guys, right? It dumped all the way to 62. I was looking for 60K. Basically, it did hit 60K. So, and it was a head and shoulder pattern. It might be hard for some people to see, but for me, it was a head and shoulder pattern that was going to dump at least to there, and then And then here's kind of a head and shoulder pattern too. You'll just see it over and over again. The descending triangle. It's amazing. This kind of was another descending triangle. Like this had kind of head and shoulder vibes, The chart tells you what it wants to do. Here's your head and shoulder. There was a head and shoulder on the corner there, if you remember. We played all that. And here's kind of a head and shoulder, right? So it's like it almost never fails. It's everyone talking online that creates this frenzy of emotions that don't make any sense. And then they all repeat it. And that becomes a narrative somehow. Because the people that don't want it to go down want to listen to what they want to hear, not what they should. And then other people just kind of speculating. And then some people are just half speculating and people are listening to it like it's truth. And that's another because they need to hear something. I remember doing that. I had to hear what I wanted to hear, so I would listen to. Then I look back and felt like I was tricked, and so I don't do that anymore because that's not a good feeling. You read something online, it makes you think something that's true, so you make a literal financial decision on it. And then you look back and realize it was just mumbo jumbo that someone was spewing, and it turned out to be why would you, So I'm very careful what I read and put in my brain, especially when it comes to investing. I keep my mind clear and make sure that I'm doing something that I've researched, believe in, And I'm not a financial advisor. You do whatever makes you happy, but I'm just, how I take approach to it is it's got to. Especially if I'm going to put a lot of money into something or I believe in something, I want to make sure that I want to hold it for a good amount of time. If the market changes and it starts to rip, fine, I'll speculate on a few things. But, So the weekly has, there's previous resistance and support. There's a good bubble of price action right here that we're in. And, there's a high volume node. Could also be, but see, if you lose that, look where this goes to 42K. That's your next big zone of liquidity. So that, that's on board. So what usually happens is now it would take about 5 to 6 weeks, 5 to 8 weeks for this to make a flag and consolidate. Really far from the 21-day moving average. Price action usually has to come close to it again before another dump. Not saying we can't dump again, but it could take 8 weeks before we decide to dump again. And there we go to 44K. So right now you have to assume we're going, just if we were pumping, you would have to assume we're going to continue to pump. Agreed? So when you're dumping, you have to assume you're going to continue to dump until you can see, it's just like what we were doing before, right? We were watching the dump, and I kept saying until we get a reversal pattern, and we finally got something on the 4-hour. It has to kind of do the same thing here. So our hopium is that somehow this turns into an inverted head and shoulder and saves the day. So you kind of have to go sideways, and this thing has to reverse. What's going to be crazy is going to get to that same point again where we were at here, where it's it could go back, or we're going to roll over. And you have to just assume we're going to roll over. So you always take the trend with you, right? So the trend is basic. So right now, you could be the most, I think it's the bottom. No matter what you think, you have to think that we're going to go lower. Somewhere to 37, 38,000. It's sad. That's just what you have to think because that's the measured move. And that's you're making a lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, right? So now you would have to come back above. Basically, you still got to break above 94K. Right? You could say here too, that's some resistance for starters, but you got to break back above 80K, use it as support, And then you got to break above 94, 93, 94,000 to break, use that as support. Or otherwise, like, so you got two big resistances now above us. Yeah, so what I see happening is likely just some chop now for the next 8 weeks while the market kind of figures out what the heck just happened. And then it could still take a dump. Looks like it's like in the 2-week 200 as the bottom, And I could be wrong, but right now you get what I'm saying. I'm not making a prediction. I'm just telling you, when the market is making lower lows, you assume there's so the traders and my mentor taught me to get into this rhythm, like let the market tell you, because I never could do this because I used to be in my own rhythm and my emotions. And I was like, no, I can't believe the market's going lower. That doesn't, my portfolio doesn't agree with that. So that can't be true. You know what I mean? And so that would make me struggle because I wouldn't be able to set the right risk parameters. I'd go too hard because it had to be a certain way. Instead of being like, maybe it's not a certain way, I'm just probability trading. So that's kind of where I sit with Bitcoin right now. It was a major, and it's going to take me a couple days to process this, but yeah, it was a major move down. It lost 50% of its net worth, or more than that, really, right? It went from 120 to 60,000, right? Amazing. And it did it October, November, December, January. It did it in 4 months. It's insane. August. So wow, it's like last February, it was just ripping up at $40,000. It's like, wow. Amazing run. I mean, it was on when you think about it, you're like, dang, man, right? Now, could this be the bottom and end up being the hardest money in the world? You never know. That's the thing. You never know. So that's why, I decided, I was all on Bitcoin, and I was all like, Michael Saylor says I have to buy only Bitcoin. Like, that's it. And I saw people in real estate selling real estate for Bitcoin, and I was like, man, I should probably get out of real estate and get all into Bitcoin. And, but right now, to make money on Bitcoin, you have to use it as collateral. Say you did that like a few weeks back. I mean, there's some people that have a better system where, like, if Bitcoin goes down, you can just change the percentage of the mortgage. But still, at the end of the day, like, you lose collateral that you had, right? Like, if you put 10 Bitcoins down right now as collateral, now your collateral is worth 50% less, right? So now using Bitcoin at the bottom for collateral is the key. Like, right, maybe when we can see a real, I'll see a bottom when I see a bottoming pattern on the weekly now. Bitcoin's so big now, it has to make big patterns on the weekly. See how it can now make the same patterns we were looking for on the 4-hour. And it will start on just like, we see the beginning of a pump on the 1 minute, and we move all the way to the 4-hour, right? And then, we trade the 4-hour or whatever, but the 1 minute shows us. Same thing. We look for the 4-hour to move. And once the 4-hour does something, we look for the week, you know what I mean? So now we're in a bigger scale too. You see? So Bitcoin does have to make some type of reversal pattern now on this bigger time frame. And it's got to put in a bull div on a weekly, which is a serious move. And it's going to take some time. 3-day chart. And now we're just 5-day chart. We're just looking for this to close red and for a green candle to close next to it, right? We get that move on the 3-day, great, The 3-day, look, 3 days. So the 3 days doing it. And we have 1 day and 11 hours. So far, that's the best thing you can get is a tweezer bottom. You get a green next to and again, there's still a chance someone could get in here with a stop below this red wick, and that could end up being the move back all the way up. I'll tell you what, when you move that fast down, the straight candles, you can move back up. But look, we got this move. We weren't able to achieve it yet. It does tell me sometime in the future, though, whenever we do get back up, this will be you'll move pretty fast through here. Just like you move pretty fast through there. So that's why look, you can see whenever you move really fast, you move down really fast. You can see that. See it? And that's what this shows you. The VRVP shows you. Like, it's just crazy how you get dragged towards the liquidity pools. And that's why I just trade with it. You know what I mean? Because it tells you what's going to happen. Like, this was telling you were going to come down into here, and you did. It's exactly where you went. Price action just goes where it's supposed to go. It's global liquidity, I'm going to go up towards it. The 200 and the 21 just teach you how it's going to happen. See, there it is, like, right? Touch the 21 above the 200. Boom. So crazy. It's like always there. That's why I use the sauce, because it just seems like it is always there. And so here we are with the daily, but now the daily's playing some games. It's making a possible tweezer top, the bearish way, right? Like to see today turn green. So you'd say, well, what's happening if this turns bearish? So you got to look at it. You almost crunch it down and say, okay, like, could it be doing this? A very, like, narrow descending triangle, right? So, like, for me now, like, that's got to break back above. So that's kind of what I'm watching today, right? And it brings us back to where we were on, like, the 4 hour. See? Same kind of story here. So I'm wary of these reversals, and this is how I can not get caught up. And so for me, like 71,005, 71.8, right? Really, we gotta get back above there. Again, back in like 12, 16, at least 24 hours, we gotta get back above this zone. Come back to this. And look, there's gaps in the VRBP telling us we can probably get back to 90K. But Bookmap has all the liquidity. It's all down here. You can see it. It's all down there. See it? It's all down, all the way down to 49. So a bunch of people long. Like, not many people are shorting, right? So everyone thinks they called the bottom now. And, so maybe I'm wrong. I'm not, we'll be, and how will I be right? Well, again, my strategies are pretty solid. The 15-minute will stay above this 200 moving average. Okay. Somehow we'll make something like this. I mean, it looks pretty, doesn't look too amazing right now, but, hopefully we make something like this. This flag breaks back to the upside today. High risk, high reward. And the weekend will be very low. Just be careful trading small time frames, especially after a massive liquidation. I'd be easy. But yeah, we got to see this kind of do something like this and then break on out. Otherwise, it's a breakdown. And then it turns into a descending triangle. So we'll know. This was, so you can watch the 15 on one screen and the 4 hour on another, and you'll be able to see what's going to happen pretty much using this method. Makes sense to me. So yeah, agreed. I think it's either doesn't go that low or goes lower just to throw a curveball in the mix. They definitely won't make it that easy. Yeah, maybe, yeah. Exactly. When we compare the Fib reversal to every last bear market, we would have our reversal now at 30. Exactly. 100%. Yep. So I really like the way you're trading and also want to adjust my edge. Thank you for your good input as always. Anytime, man. I saw one guy saying that there are so many head and shoulders in Bitcoin that he was always right. Everything on the Discord said, no, that's not a clean head and shoulders. That's bull. Uncertainty with the new Fed chair, in my opinion. Seems like a decisive move on how the dollar will perform in the next couple of years. Yeah. Yeah, the 1 hour looks like an inverted head and shoulder that's going to go, yeah. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for today. Yesh. Yesh. That's what we want to see. Yeah. So that's kind of it on the screen share. I didn't want to go too crazy with it. And yeah, I'll jump into a live stream probably in like a little bit. And yeah, if you want to update you guys, like I have my operation on Thursday. They're going to cut open the back of my foot and reattach my tendon. And they're going to use like a piece of like another tendon that attaches to my toe to back it up, make it stronger. It's like known as, it's a tactic to actually like ensure this may never happen again. To back it up a little bit. I will lose a little movement in my left toe, I'm told. But that's, that's kind of the give and take. So there you go. And I'll pray for no nerve damage, pray for no, nothing bad. Keep it all out of my mind. And, yeah, they'll put me under anesthesia. I will go to bed, and then I'll wake up probably in pain. And, yeah. I got to just stay positive about it. I don't like, no one likes to be, no one wants surgery, right? Nobody wants that. So, but that's where I sit. That's where I'm at. And I'm staying positive no matter what. And I wanted to let you know, no matter, like I was still able to get through one of the toughest times. I think we did wonderful. I could see what the market was going to do, and we were able to short it, So could have shorted with massive size. I'm just not a huge fan of shorting with massive size, but I mean, I'll get better and better as I go too. But what I can do is call the market pretty dang accurate for you and show you. And, you're the lifer, you'll be fine. Yeah, thank you, Sam. Praying for your recovery. God bless. Yeah. Yeah. How do I get out? What do you need with the weeks? What's wrong with weeks? I'm confident you'll be stronger after the surgery. Thanks, man. It's going to take some time. That's all. It's going to take some time. When you move like me and you can bounce around the house and you're always doing something, I'm taking my kids places, I'm always running, or I'm on a scooter with my daughter and we're running around. It's just like hard to be like, dang, Yeah, Sam, did you try any lighter? No, I haven't touched it yet. No. It was just, I was like all excited for it. And then like, I don't know, it didn't have the, basically the entrance into the market I thought it would going to have. And I guess the market also kind of wasn't the greatest at the time. So be careful, everyone. We could still roll over here. It's not a guarantee. We did kind of head and shoulder. We got to get back above the 30-minute 200. There's some struggles we got to get through here. 5-minute has to get above the 200 moving average. Okay. We got to turn this into some type of tight flag so we can break out on the 15. All right. What's wrong with weeks? Someone said I'm having issues with weeks. I wonder why. I use it like every day in front of everyone. I've never had an issue, but you'll get through this with strength and faith as always, Sammy. We'll see you stronger than ever. Yeah. Yep. Every step stronger moving forward. Thank you. Thank you, Ulrich. Guy said you bought Soul Boy. Really? No. I was telling people this is why you don't buy garbage. See, I was going to use this as like an example the other day. Nah, man, I wouldn't go near any of this stuff. You crazy, man. Adam and Eve on the 4-hour. That could be beginning in one, right? Like, yeah, we just got to make sure we get it. This pumps back to the top of the channel here today. This little flag on the 15 breaks out. The last one was this one here, right? The 15 flag that we put out, that pumped. So we'll see how we do. It is the 21 above the. Everyone's looking good on the 15, staying above the 200 moving average, right? So all's well that ends well. So far, it's so good. So far, so good. All right, everyone, I'm going to jump on out of here and probably do a live stream in a bit. Thank you so much for being here. And, yeah, we'll come back next week. Oh, yeah, next week is my surgery on Thursday, so I'll probably maybe do this. We might skip a week just because of what I'm going through. I have to keep my leg up and stuff like that, so I apologize if that happens, but we'll be back strong 2 weeks from now, guaranteed. Thank you, everyone, for all the constant support and love, and we'll keep pushing. I had a great week of making gains, and we'll continue to do so. And I'm not down and out, everyone. It's early in the morning, and yeah, it's just been like a long, long week, man. And my foot just goes through in and out of pain, and it's all right. It is what it is. And sometimes I just wake up and I just look down and I'm like, huh. But yeah, focus on the good things and say thank you for that. I thank God I have my other leg. Like, what if that? Now I'm always like, damn, man, when is that gonna pop? Like, it's like it kind of creeps you out. But you have to have faith that it won't. And it was just a freak accident. It's so strange though how that happened to me. So it is what it is. Anything, take it from me that anything could happen to you at any time. And that's it. Right? Feel better, Sam. Love you. Love you too, guys. Thank you so much.